began with a kind of an animal mind, and he's come up a little bit further into the realms of human mind, and now he's exploring three different levels of human mind. One kind of the physical mind, one the vital mind, and then later he'll go into the intellectual mind. We have to just recall that Aswapati has already arisen in his consciousness to great heights, and he's looking into all of the cosmic worlds. And he's looking actually for the way to change nature and to transform life on earth. But I just read one short passage before he's even entered into these subtle planes to explore these different worlds, just to get an idea and keep in mind what his consciousness is like. So this is from page 83, from his yoga that he had practiced prior to this inner journey. It says there, all was uncovered to his sealless eye. A secret nature, stripped of her defense, once in a dreaded half-light, formidable, overtaken in her mighty privacy, lay bare to the burning splendor of his will. In shadowy chambers lit by a strange sun, and opening hardly to hid mystic keys, her perilous arcanes and hooded powers confess the advent of a mastering mind and bore the compulsion of a time-born gaze. So that's the level of Aswapati's consciousness as he explores these realms. And just reviewing a little bit from last time, these worlds of the little mind, of the lower human mind, he comes across three different aspects of it, which he describes as a dwarf, three-bodied trinity, kind of three different aspects of the mind, a three kind of headed, bodied mind. So this is on 245 at the break there. First, smallest of the three, but strong of limb, a low brow with a square and heavy jowl, a pygmy thought, needing to live in bounds, forever stooped to hammer fact and form, absorbed and cabined in external sight. It takes its stand on nature's solid base. A technician admirable, a thinker crude, a riveter of life to habit's grooves, obedient to gross matter's tyranny, a prisoner of the molds in which it works. It binds itself by what itself creates, a slave of a fixed mass of absolute rules. It sees as law the habits of the world. It sees as truth the habits of the mind. And as we read through these different aspects of mind, we get insights into aspects of our own mind. we also embody these three different aspects. And then he came into this realm of the vital mind. A fiery spirit came next of the three, a hunchback rider of the red wild ass, a rash intelligence, leaped down lion-maned from the great mystic flame that rings the worlds, and with its dire edge eats at being's heart. Then sprang the burning vision of desire. 1,000 shapes it wore, took numberless names, a need of multitude and uncertainty pricks it forever to pursue the one on countless roads across the vasts of time, through circuits of unending difference. It burns all breasts with an ambiguous fire. So we're continuing reading about this aspect of the mind at about the middle of page 2.
Now, I have a question. In the beginning, you read Spanish sun. What it means, Spanish sun? Strange sun.
Strange sun. I don't know where
In the beginning, when you...
At the very beginning?
Yeah. Page 83.
Yeah.
In shadowy chambers, lit by a strange sun.
Yeah. Yeah, what that strange sun is, I'm not sure, because he's looking into nature from that height of consciousness, and he's looking into these shadowy chambers of the worlds. So lit by a strange sun, maybe it's kind of a half light that is there illumining these different worlds. What that strange sun is exactly, I don't know. It's probably something from his vision of that, looking. He also, Sri Aurobindo, is looking into these worlds, and from that perspective, from that height, as he looks down into the worlds and through these different planes of the cosmos, it appears as if lit by a strange sun.
It's very interesting, Spanish sun. Thank you.
So we continue then on page 248. About halfway down, in darkness it discovered, and perhaps Helmut, you can begin.
In darkness it discovered luminous shapes. Peering into a shadow-hung half-light, it saw hued images scrawled on fancy scale, or it swept in circles through conjecture's night and caught in imagination's camera bright scenes of promise held by transient flares. Fixed in life's air, the feet of hurrying dreams kept prints of passing forms and hooded powers and flash images of half-seen verities. An eager spring to seize and to possess, unguided by reason or the seeing soul, was its first natural motion and its last. It squandered life's force to achieve the impossible. It scorned the straight road and ran on wandering curves and left what it had won for untried things. It saw unrealized aims as instant fate and chose the precipice for its leap to heaven.
Thank you. So we're getting images or analogies of this vital mind and how it works. So it's looking kind of into a half light and discovering there different things. But they're all kind of fleeting images. They don't last, but it grasps at each one that it sees and tries to take it and utilize it and fix it as if it were something eternal and solid and that could be kept. And it's unguided by reason. It's just more of a vital grasping at images of the reality or of whatever is around, seizing upon it as if it held some great treasure. Yes, I knew you would say that because it saw hued images scrawled on Fancy's cave. So that was what Plato had seen, these as if images or archetypal truths reflected on the walls of the cave. Do you know the allusion a little bit more? How he described that?
Really, what he says about perception of light is only like a reflection on the cave wall.
Yeah. So that's kind of his image too here. He's just saying they're just kind of flickering images that we see by the fire in a dark cave, lit up for a second and changing constantly.
I think it's only the strange sun that lights up that cave.
Yeah. Huh? Fancy cave. Fancy's cave. Yeah, that's kind of like imagination's cave, I think. Yeah. It squandered life's force to achieve the impossible. Because it's grasping at each of these different possibilities or images And he uses its life force to grasp at those, even though it's really impossible to seize them, to keep them, because they're just passing images. It scorned the straight road and ran on wandering curves, and left what it had won for untried things. So we can recognize all of these tendencies in ourselves. So let's continue. Praveen, would you like to read?
Adventure system in the gamble of life. We took fortuitous gains as safe results. Error discouraged not its confident view. Ignorant of the deep law of being's ways, and failure could not slow its fiery clutch. One chance made true warranted all the rest. Attempt, not victory, was the charm of life. An uncertain winner of uncertain stakes. Instinct its dam, and the life mind its sire. It ran its race and came in first or last. Yet were its works nor small and vain nor null. It nursed a portion of infinity's strength, and could create the high things its fancy willed. Its passion caught what calm intelligence missed. In sight of impulse laid its leaping grasp. On heaven's high thought had hidden in dazzling mist. Caught glimmers that revealed a lurking sun. It probed the void and found a treasure there. A half intuition purpled in its sense. It threw the lightning spoke and hit the unseen. It saw in the dark and vaguely blinked in the light. Ignorance was its field, the unknown its pride.
Thank you. So we see a few more characteristics of this vital mind. Adventure, its system in the gamble of life. It's always kind of exploring new possibilities, taking risks, taking chances in order to find some new possibility, some new truth, clutching at these passing images that its thought perceives. And sometimes it catches hold of something that is true, that has a truth in it. And then, but 9/10 of the time it clutches at something that's false or doesn't help or leads it astray. But that one time when it catches something, that makes all the rest worthwhile for it. So attempt, not victory, was the charm of life. It's this adventurous spirit that it has.
I think that is something which can teach us to be stepping back and understanding that in this life this happens. There is also a purpose behind it if you don't understand. It is role to play.
Yeah, if we can step back and observe this operating in our own life or in our own mind, and if we look dispassionately, we may also find some utility in it. He's saying that it had a certain truth. On heavens, high thought had hidden in dazzling mist. It caught glimmers that revealed a lurking sun. It probed the void and found a treasure there. So our reasoning intelligence would probably not look into the void or into the subconscious seeking truths. But this rash intelligence does. It'll take that adventure and look and seek and find maybe even the secret of nature's change there. It probed the void and found a treasure there. A half intuition, purpled in its sense. So it's some kind of also reflection in the lower mind of an intuition. Intuition also kind of operates by these flashes of truths that come to it. It threw the lightning's fork and hit the unseen. So that's kind of an image also of the intuition. It's like this lightning fork coming down from the truth above. It's how it's imaged in the Vedas, the intuition. A fork, you know what a fork is. So it's a pronged, long pronged extension. So the lightning comes down into, like in prongs. And it's lighting up certain truths. So within that small scope of its light, it sees things truly. It saw in the dark and vaguely blinked in the light. Ignorance was its field, the unknown its prize. So there in the ignorance, in the darkness, it may find the unknown, may find the truth hidden in the darkness.
He's also speaking this one line, the rented place and came into a corner, so this not hanging on something, but just to let it be how it is also. It's also a good quality that.
Yeah, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not so good. Sometimes it just leads us astray. So it has its good possibilities, its utility. Without it, the dull, ignorant physical mind would never go out of its grooves of habit. But this wants to take the adventure and look in all directions. So now we come to the third of the Trinity, the more intellectual mind. Now this is where we had stopped reading earlier, so I would like to read through the rest of the canto once, and then we'll go back and comment afterwards. So we'll just read section by section. And Sanjay, would you like to begin?
Of all these powers, the greatest was last, arriving late from a far plane of thought into a packed, irrational world of chance, where all was grossly felt and blindly done, yet the haphazard seemed the inevitable. Came reason, the spot Godhead artisan, to her narrow house upon a ridge in time, adept of clear contrivance and design, pensive face and close and peering eyes, she took a firm and irremovable seat. The strongest, wisest of the troll-like three, armed with her lens and measuring rod and probe, she looked upon an object universe, and the multitudes that in it live and die, and the body of space and the fleeing soul of time, and took the earth and stars into her hands, to try what she could make of these strange things.
Thank you. Continue.
In her strong, purposeful, laborious mind, inventing her scheme lines of reality and the geometric curves of her time plan, she multiplied her slow half-cuts at truth. Impatient of enigma and the unknown, intolerant of the lawless and the unique, imposing reflection on the march of force, imposing clarity on the unfathomable, she strove to reduce to rules the mystic world. Nothing she knew, but all things hoped to know, in dark, inconscient realms once void of thought, missioned by a supreme intelligence to throw its rays upon the obscure vast, an imperfect light leading an erring mass. By the power of sense and the idea and word, she ferrets out nature's process, substance, cause.
Thank you. Ganga Lakshmi.
Which number I use?
All life to harmonize.
Yeah. All life to harmonize by thought's control. She with a huge imbroglio struggle still. Ignorant of all but her own sinking mind. To save the world from ignorance she came, a sovereign worker through a sentence, observing and remolding all that is. Confident she took up her stupendous charge. There the low bent and mighty figure sits, born under the arc lamp of her factory home. Amid the clatter and ringing of her tolls, a rigorous stare in her creative eyes, coercing the plastic stuff of cosmic mind. She sets the hard invention of her brain in the pattern of eternal fixity. Indifferent to the cosmic dump demand, unconscious of too close realities, of the unspoken thought, the voiceless heart. She leans to forge her credo and iron cords and metal structure to imprison life and mechanic models of all things that are.
Thank you.
For the world seen, she weaves a world conceived. She spins in stiff but unsubstantial lines, a gossamer word webs of abstract thought, her segment systems of the infinite. Her theodicies and cosmogonic charts and myths by which she explains the inexplicable. At will, she spaces in thin air of mind, like maps in the schoolhouse of intellect hung, forcing wide truth into a narrow scheme, her numberless warring strict philosophies. Out of nature's body of phenomenon, she carves with thought's keen edge in rigid lines, like rails for the world magician's power to run. Her science is precise and absolute. On the huge bare walls of human nescience, written around nature's deep, dumb hieroglyphs, she pens in clear, demotic characters the vast encyclopedia for thoughts, an algebra of her mathematics science, her numbers and unerring formulas she builds to clinch her summary of things. On all sides runs as if in a cosmic mosque, tracing the scriptural verse of her laws, the daedal of her patterned arabesques, art of her wisdom, artifice of her law. This art, this artifice are her only stock.
Thank you. Margaret?
In her high works of pure intelligence, in her withdrawal from the senses trap, there comes no breaking of the walls of mind, there leaps no rending flash of absolute power, there dawns no light of heavenly certitude. A million faces wears her knowledge here, and every face is turbaned with a doubt. All now is questioned, all reduced to naught. Once monumental in their massive craft, her old great mythic writings disappear, and into their place starts strict ephemeral science. This constant change spells progress to her eyes. Her thought is an endless march without a goal. There is no summit on which she can stand and see in a single glance the infinite's whole.
an inconclusive play is reason's toil. Each strong idea can use her as its tool. Accepting every brief, she pleads her case. Open to every thought she cannot know.
Thank you.
The eternal advocate, seated as judge, armors in logic's invulnerable mail 1,000 combatants for truth's veiled throne, and sets on a high horseback of argument to tilt forever with a wordly lance, in a mock tournament where none can win. Assessing thought's values with her rigid test, balanced she sits on wide and empty air, aloof and pure in her impartial poise. Absolute her judgment seem, but none is sure. Time cancels all her verdicts in appeal. Although like sunbeams through our glowworm mind, her knowledge feigns to fall from a clear heaven. Its rays are a lantern's lustres in the night. She throws a glittering robe on ignorance. But now is lost her ancient sovereign claim to rule mind's high realm in her absolute right. Bind thought with logic's forged infallible chain, or see truth nude in a bright abstract haze.
Thank you. Sudan.
A master and slave of stark phenomenon, she travels on the roads of erring sight, or looks upon a set mechanical world, constructed for her by her instruments, a bulk yoke in the court of proven fact. She drags whose knowledge veils through matter's dust, to reach utility's immense budget. Apprentice she has grown to her old goose, and aid sense is her seeking arbiter. These now she uses as the Asire stone, as if she knew not fact or hawks of truth. The hawks she keeps, the carnal throws aside, and ancient wisdom fades into the past. The age's faith becomes an idle tale. God passes out of the awakened thought, an old discarded dream needed no more. Only she seeks mechanic nature's ease.
Thank you. B.
Interpreting stone laws inevitable, she digs into matter's hard concealing soil to unearth the processes of all things done. A loaded, huge, self-worked machine appears to her eyes, eager and admiring stare, an intricate and meaningless enginery of ordered, fateful, and unfailing chance, ingenious and meticulous and minute, its brute, unconscious, accurate device unrolls an unerring march, maps a sure road. It plans without thinking, acts without a will, a million purposes serves with purpose none, and builds a rational world without a mind. It has no mover, no maker, no idea. Its vast self-action toils without a cause, a lifeless energy irresistibly driven, death's head on the body of necessity, engenders life and fathers consciousness, then wonders why all was and whence it came.
Thank you. Sheila? Will you read? No. Devashi.
Our thoughts are parts of the immense machine, our ponderings but a freak of matter's law. The mystic's lore was a fancy or a blind. Of soul or spirit we have now no need. Matter is the admirable reality, the patent, unescapable miracle, the heart truth of things, simple, eternal soul. A suicidal rash expenditure, creating the world by a mystery of self-loss, has poured its scattered works on empty space. Late shall the self-disintegrating force contract the immense expansion it has made. Then ends this mighty and unmeaning toil. The void is left bare, vacant as before. Thus vindicated, crowned, the grand new thought, explained the world and mastered all its laws, touched the dumb roots, woke, veiled tremendous powers. It bound to service the unconscious jinns that sleep unused in matter's ignorant trance.
Thank you. Would you like to? Okay, I'll read next. All was precise, rigid, indubitable. But when on matter's rock of ages based, a whole stood up, firm and clear-cut and safe, all staggered back into a sea of doubt. This solid scheme melted in endless flux. She had met the formless power, inventor of forms. Suddenly she stumbled upon things unseen. A lightning from the undiscovered truth startled her eyes with its perplexing glare and dug a gulf between the real and known, till all her knowledge seemed an ignorance. Once more the world was made a wonder web, a magic's process in a magical space, an unintelligible miracle's depths, whose source is lost in the ineffable. Once more we face the blank, unknowable. In a crash of values, in a huge doom crack, in the sputter and scatter of her breaking work, she lost her clear, conserved, constructed world. Helmut.
Quantum dance remained, a sprawl of chance in energy's stupendous tripping whirl, a ceaseless motion in the unbounded void, invented forms without a thought or aim. Necessity and cause were shapeless ghosts. Matter was an incident in being's flow, law but a clockwork habit of blind force. Ideals, ethics, systems had no base and soon collapsed or without sanction lived. All grew a chaos, a heave and clash and strife. Ideas warring and fears leaped upon life. A hard compression held down anarchy, and liberty was only a phantom's name. Creation and destruction, walls inarmed, on the bosom of a torn and quaking earth, all reeled into a world of Kali's dance. Thus tumbled, sinking, sprawling in the void, clutching for props, a soil on which to stand, she only saw a thin atomic vast, a rare point, sparse substratum universe on which floats a solid world's phenomenal face.
Thank you.
Alone, a process of events was there, and nature's plastic and protean change, and strong by death, slay or to create. The riven invisible atom's omnipotent force. One chance remained that there might be a power to liberate man from the old inadequate means and leave him sovereign of the earthly scene. For reason then might grasp the original force to drive her car upon the roads of time. All then might serve the need of the thinking race, and absolute state found orders absolute. To a standardized perfection cut all things, and society built a just exact machine. Then science and reason, careless of the soul, would iron out a tranquil uniform world, aeonic seekings glut with outward truths, and a single patterned thinking force on mind, inflicting matter's logic on spirit's dreams. A reasonable animal make of man, and a symmetrical fabric of his life.
Thank you. Sanjay.
This would be nature's peak on an obscure globe, the grand result of the long ages' toil. Earth's evolution crowned her mission done. So might it be if the spirit fell asleep. Man then might rest content and live in peace, master of nature who once a bond slave worked, the world's disorder hardening into law. If life's dire heart arose not in revolt, if God within could find no greater plan, but many-visaged is the cosmic soul, a touch can alter the fixed front of fate. A sudden turn can come, road appear. A greater mind may see a greater truth. Or we may find, when all the rest has failed, hid in ourselves the key of perfect change. Ascending from the soil where creep our days, Earth's consciousness may marry with the sun. Our mortal life ride on the spirit's wings. Our finite thoughts commune with the infinite.
Thank you.
And bright beacons of the rising sun, all is birthed into a cloud of light. All here deformed guards its happy shape. Here all is mixed and marred, there pure and whole. Yet each is a passing step, a moment's phase. Awake to a greater truth beyond her acts, the mediatrix sat and saw her works, and felt the marvel in them and the force, but knew the power behind the face of time. She did the task, obeyed the knowledge given, her deep heart yearned towards great ideal things, and from the light looked out to wider light. A brilliant hedge drawn round her narrowed her powers. Faithful to her limited sphere she toiled, but knew its highest, widest seeing was a half-search. Its mightiest acts, a passage or a stage.
Thank you. Ganga Lakshmi.
For not by reason was the creation made, and not by reason can the truth be seen, which through the veil of thought, the screens of sense, hardly the spirit's vision can describe. Dimmed by imperfection of its means, the little mind is tied to little things. Its sense is but the spirit outward touch. Half walk in the world of dark and conscience. It feels out for its beings and its form, like one left tumbling to the ignorant night. In this small mold of infant mind and sense, desire the child heart crying for bliss. Our reason only the toys artificial, a ruler maker in the strange stumbling game. But sheer dwarf heads knew was confident sight, a bounded prospecto for the far goal.
Thank you.
The world she has made is an interim report of a traveler towards the half-found truth in things, moving twixt nescience and nescience. For nothing is known while aught remains concealed. The truth is known only when all is seen. Attracted by the all that is the one, she yearns towards a higher light than hers. Hid by her cults and creeds, she has glimpsed God's face. She knows she has but found a form, a robe, but ever she hopes to see him in her heart and feel the body of his reality. As yet a mask is there, and not a brow, although sometimes two hidden eyes appear. Reason cannot tear off that glimmering mask. Her efforts only make it glimmer more. In packets she ties up the indivisible, finding her hands too small to hold vast truth. She breaks up knowledge into alien parts, or peers through cloud rack for a vanished sun. She sees, not understanding what she has seen, through the locked visages of finite things, the myriad aspects of infinity. One day the face must burn out through the mask.
Thank you. Margaret.
Our ignorance is wisdom's chrysalis. Our error whets new knowledge on its way. Its darkness is a blackened knot of light. Thought dances hand in hand with nescience on the grey road that winds towards the sun. Even while her fingers fumble at the knots which bind them to their strange companionship, into the moments of their married strife, sometimes break flashes of the enlightening fire. Even no great thoughts are here that walk alone. Armed they have come with the infallible word in an investure of intuitive light that is a sanction from the eyes of God. Announcer of a distant truth they flame, arriving from the rim of eternity. A fire shall come out of the infinitudes. A greater Gnosis shall regard the world, crossing out of some far omniscience on lustrous seas from the still rapt alone, to illumine the deep heart of self and things. The timeless knowledge shall bring to mind its aim to life, to ignorance its close.
Thank you.
Above in a high, breathless stratosphere, overshadowing the dwarfish trinity, lived aspirants to a limitless beyond, captives of space, walled by the limiting heavens, in the unceasing circuit of the hours, yearning for the straight paths of eternity, and from their high station looked down on this world, two sun-gazed daemons witnessing all that is. A power to uplift the laggard world, imperious rode a huge high-winged life thought, unwont to tread the firm unchanging soil, accustomed to a blue infinity, it planed a sunlit sky and starlit air. It saw afar the unreached immortal's home, and heard afar the voices of the gods.
Thank you. Sudan.
Iconoclast and shatterer of time's sports, overleaping limits and exceeding rounds, it leads the thoughts that glow through the centuries and move to acts of superhuman force as far as its self-winged airplanes could fly, visiting the futures in great brilliant raids. It reconnoitered vistas of dream fate, apt to conceive, unable to attain. It drew its concept map and visions plan too large for the architectures of mortal space, beyond in wideness where no footing is, and images of bodiless ideas. Impassive to the cry of life and sense, a pure thought mind surveyed the cosmic act, archangels of a white transcending realm. It saw the world from solitary heights, luminous in a remote and empty air.
Thank you.
End of Canto 10.
This last section is interesting because he has described this dwarf trinity of mind. And this seems, it's apparently a dwarf because it's still tied in a way to the physical mind. And even our intellectual mind is tied to the physical mind. It's still looking through reason at the world, at matter, the world of matter, trying to understand. But beyond this triple realm of mind are these two sun-gazed demons witnessing all that is. So these two witnessing eyes are something above this physical strata of mind. And the first is the imperious rode a huge high-winged life thought. So this is in a way the true life mind. And above that, just towards the end, the fourth line from the end, a pure thought mind surveyed the cosmic act, archangel of a white transcending realm, saw the world from solitary heights, luminous in a remote and empty air. So this is the pure thought mind. So we can now go back to page 249, halfway down at the new paragraph, and read again, and we can comment briefly. 249, halfway down. B.
Out of these powers, the greatest was the last, arriving late from a far plane of thought into a packed, irrational world of chance, where all was grossly felt and blindly done, yet haphazard seemed the inevitable. Came reason, the squat Godhead artisan, to her narrow house on a ridge in time, adept of clear contrivance and design, a pensive face and close and peering eyes. She took her firm and irremovable seat, the strongest, the wisest of the troll-like three. Armed with her lens and measuring rod and probe, she looked upon an object universe and the multitudes that in it live and die, and the body of space and the fleeing soul of time, and took the earth and stars into her hands to try what she could make of these strange things.
Thank you. So the third of these dwarf-like trinity comes reason, but it's kind of still focused on the physical world. Coming from a far plane of thought into a packed, irrational world of chance, where all was grossly felt and blindly done. So it comes trying to make sense of this haphazard world, putting it into distinct categories to understand it, armed with her lens and measuring rod and probe. She looked upon an object universe and the multitudes that in it live and die, and the body of space and the fleeing soul of time, and took the earth and stars into her hands to try what she could make of these strange things. Debashish.
In her strong, purposeful, laborious mind, inventing her scheme lines of reality and the geometric curves of a time plan, she multiplied her slow half cuts at truth. Impatient of enigma and the unknown, intolerant of the lawless and the unique, imposing reflection on the march of force, imposing clarity on the unfathomable. She strove to reduce the rules, the mystic world. Nothing she knew, but all things hoped to know. In dark, inconscient realms, once void of thought, missioned by a supreme intelligence to throw its ray upon the obscure vast, an imperfect light leading an erring mass. By the power of sense and the idea and word, she ferrets out nature's process, substance, cause.
Thank you. So we have here kind of a quite profound philosophy of mind and thought and reason. Many philosophers work on these problems to understand what mind is, the nature of knowledge. Here he describes it in a short passage of poetry. And gives it, this kind of critical view, critique. For example, she multiplied her slow half cuts at truth, impatient of enigma and the unknown, intolerant of the lawless and the unique, imposing reflection on the march of force, imposing clarity on the unfathomable. She strove to reduce to rules the mystic world. So Sri Aurobindo is in effect also saying that this world is a mystery beyond mind, and yet mind is trying to manage it, to cut it into strips of knowledge within little borders, according to its rules that it has set up.
But Maria, I like two lines
one's void of thought, mission by supreme intelligence.
Yeah.
It's not artificial intelligence. Page number 35 and 34.
Yeah, it's very profound.
He changed the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, several times he reminds us that these imperfect and lower aspects of mind are absolutely also essential and a part of the scheme of the Supreme to create this world and to further its gradual evolution.
It is very, very important. One time will be changed, not artificial, but we put in the news and everywhere supreme intelligence.
Well, he says that it's missioned. It's missioned by a supreme intelligence. It's been given the sanction and the mission to do this. Yeah. It has its role to play.
What means the word
Ferret out, well, I think it's maybe like comes from the animal ferret, which kind of digs in the ground searching for, nuts and things. And so it's searching in matter for little nuggets of truth.
Reality. And now what we said, but also that is our nature's process, substance force.
Well, the mind kind of makes up rules about how it's supposed to operate. We have, rules of logic, right? And you have to follow those rules, and if you follow those, you'll come to some firm conclusions. They're not necessarily absolutely firm or conclusive, but it gives us some enduring image of the truth that we can utilize for the time being in our search and in our development. So it invents these scheme lines, these kind of rules of how we should think about things and to master the life forces. But in these kind of rules, these rules are intolerant of the lawless and unique. It wants everything to conform. And if it doesn't conform, it won't deal with it. So it cuts out God, it cuts out mystery, because these things don't fit in its scheme lines. So it cuts out large pieces of the reality of the puzzle, of the oneness of things, and works within its narrow boundaries. As a result, it's false. Go ahead.
It seems that quantum physics now is finding out the issues 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. He describes this in detail later, how everything falls back into this kind of chaos and uncertainty. You have this uncertainty principle now or something. So reason has also led us to that point. So it has kind of found a way towards a greater truth, a greater reality, Science has led us to that, but then also we have to leave it behind and go on. And we have to recognize, reason also has to recognize that it's only presenting a scheme of the world, a certain image of it, that it's not the reality in itself, or it's not a true reality, but it's giving us a certain perspective on it. It's serviceable, it's utilizable. Oh. Yeah. We look at, we have these things in the news about, the Western kind of rule-based order, right? And then we have, kind of the chaos of autocratic rule, and I'll do what I want, and it creates a kind of a lawlessness and a confusion in the world. So we have these kind of competing ideologies at work, at play. But that lawlessness, that's also kind of a truth. It also represents a kind of the life force, and the mind wants to rein it in, to control it, but it also refuses to be controlled. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't fit in to this logical scheme of reason. So it was discarded. Reason is intolerant of these kinds of mystical things, intuitive knowledge. It doesn't understand, and it can't really deal with it, so it puts it aside. But there was a greater wisdom actually in that. And then after its long curve of development, reason eventually may go back to that, but it has to follow that curve. Okay, I think we can stop there for today.
these powers, the greatest was the last. Came reason, the squat Godhead artisan, to her narrow house upon a ridge in time, armed with her length and measuring rod and probe. She looked upon an object universe.
Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.